What is said on live TV cannot be taken back, even though a lot of celebrities wish it could be. And some of the things that celebrities have said during live broadcasts have even resulted in the demise of their careers. That's why today on IO, we're going to be breaking down the top 10 live TV moments that ruined careers part 2. But first, make sure to subscribe if you're new here. In at number 10, Chrissy Teigen. Pete Davidson took a major dig at Chrissy Teigen on the most recent episode of Saturday Night Live. And I believe he is one of the biggest celebrities that have condemned her following her most recent scandal. During the Weekend Update segment of the show, Davidson said, quote, "If there's one good thing about the pandemic besides getting Chrissy Teigen out of our lives," then the crowd erupted with laughter before he was able to finish the joke. During the audience cheers, he added, quote, "I'm relieved." He then went on to continue to make a joke about masks. So clearly Pete and the entire SNL cast wanted to make a point to condemn Chrissy on their final episode of the season, and I'm really glad that he did. And at number 9, Wendy Williams. This one is absolutely outrageous, but I just had to share it. In March of 2021, Wendy Williams shocked the live viewers of her show when she burped and farted at the same time. During the Hot Topics segment where Wendy was talking about the Kardashians, Wendy let out a burp and then covered her mouth, but a brief toot happened as well. And the show's mics picked up the whole thing for the world to hear. She owned up to the embarrassing moment immediately, saying, I apologize," before going straight back into the gossip. But what makes this even funnier is that Wendy is now known to be a tooter, and she was involved in Fartgate last year on her show. However, that time, even though we all heard the toot, she didn't own up to it, and said about the toot at that time, quote, "I barely fart. You know why? Because gas gets released several different ways, and mine is belching, because all I do is talk." I guess we all know the truth now, Wendy. In at number 8, Jenny Slate. Jenny Slate was fired from SNL after she made a career-ending error during the live TV broadcast. There are a lot of rules when doing live TV, but one of the most important is to never swear. During her very first appearance on the show in 2009, she was doing a segment where she said a play on the F word by saying frickin' over and over. But one of those times she said the real word and dropped the F-bomb. She quickly caught herself saying it, but it was too late. And immediately after the show, she knew what a huge mistake that she'd made. She even got a lot of hate online from viewers after the slip. She ended up getting fired from the show at the end of her first season, although she says she wasn't fired because of the F-bomb incident, but rather because it wasn't a good fit. Getting fired was a huge blow to her reputation and career, but she has found success since. In at number 7, Janet Jackson. There is no way I couldn't include this one in the list because Jackson's career was truly never the same after this accident. During the 2004 Super Bowl, Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake performed at what would become the most memorable halftime show of all time. While the two were dancing and singing, Timberlake suddenly grabbed and ripped her shirt, exposing her breasts to the entire world. Following the incident, the media dubbed it Nipplegate. Janet Jackson was put through the ringer for her part in the whole scandal, and as a result, she was uninvited to the Grammy Awards that year, and her songs were blacklisted from the radio. It was later discovered that the whole incident happened because they added a costume reveal into their performance at the last minute, but for some reason it failed. The crazy part was that even though Timberlake was the reason the whole thing actually happened, his career only got better after the incident, while Janet's basically disappeared. And at number 6, Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X did what he does best during his SNL performance and made our jaws drop. Lil Nas X performed his song Montero, Call Me By Your Name, and Sun Goes Down for the season 46 finale. And his raunchy performance turned a lot of heads by itself, but it got even better after Lil Nas ripped his pants on live TV during the performance. While he was dancing on a stripper pole, he bent down and ripped his pants. And we pretty much all knew that it happened because he had a brief look of shock and horror on his face while trying to figure out what to do next. He also spent the rest of the entire performance covering the rip on his crotch with his hand. After fans started speculating about the rip on Twitter, Nas tweeted out, quote, "Not my pants ripped on live TV." Then sometime later that night, he tweeted again, quote, "I know I do a lot of planned but ripping my pants on live TV is not one of them." Thankfully, it wasn't that bad of a rip, and the people watching at home didn't see too much. Halfway at number 5, Milli Vanilli. Milli Vanilli was a massive pop duo in the 90s that had insane success. However, one live TV performance exposed that the whole thing was fake. Basically, while the duo Fab Morvan and Rob Plattis were performing, their backtrack that they were lip-syncing to skipped, proving that they weren't singing. After the performance, the whole scandal blew up, and it was discovered that the men in the group never even sang one word of the original song. Milli Vanilli was created by German record producer Franco, and he took the voices of some unnamed singers and made the duo the faces of the group. Everything was going great with the hoax until it all came crashing down. And of course, after the lie was exposed, the group was blacklisted from the industry. This took a huge toll on Morgan and Plattis, and especially on their mental health, driving Plattis to take his own life. And number 4, Martin Lawrence. This is another incident that took place on SNL. While Martin Lawrence was hosting, his monologue got so raunchy at one point that it ended up being cut from the broadcast. If you're wondering what kind of stuff is so bad that it won't get aired on television, well, his monologue was talking about genital hygiene of the female intimate areas. And the whole thing was pretty crass and explicit. When the episode aired later that night for West Coast viewers, NBC cut that portion of the monologue and replaced it with text explaining the gist of Lawrence's commentary and how, quote, network policy prevents any rebroadcast of that routine. The rest of the schedule went on as usual, but Lawrence was obviously banned from the show after, and probably not allowed back on any live TV either. In at number 3, Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj had everyone on the edge when she took the time during her 2015 VMA acceptance speech to call out host Miley Cyrus. The call out was because Miley made some negative comments about her to the press. While accepting the award for Best Hip Hop Video, Nicki Minaj finished it off saying, quote, "And now back to this bee that had a lot to say about me in the press the other day. Miley, what's good?" Miley handled it very well and quickly congratulated Nicki on the win and said the media twisted her words. Miley's original comments took place during an interview where she was talking about Taylor Swift and Nicki spat over award nominations, where Miley said, quote, "What I read sounded very Nicki Minaj," which, if you know Nicki Minaj, is not too kind. It's not very polite. I think there's a way you speak to people with openness and love. You don't have to start this pop star against pop star war. So I'm not sure how that could have been taken out of context, but I think Miley's allowed to have her opinion here. In at number 2, Nancy O'Dell. Entertainment reporter Nancy O'Dell got herself in some hot water after she made some shady comments to Taylor Swift. The host was talking to Taylor on the Grammys red carpet in 2015 and asked, quote, "You're gonna walk away with more than a trophy tonight. I think lots of men," Nancy said to Taylor. After the question, Taylor looked stunned and offended, and she fired back that it was not the case. Swift responded, quote, "I'm not gonna walk home with any men tonight. I'm gonna hang out with my friends and then go home to my cats," with her adding later that men get her into trouble. These comments were probably meant to be a lighthearted joke about Taylor's publicized relationships, but obviously the Grammys was not the time or place. And finally, at number 1, James Franco. James Franco's acting career has taken a hit for many reasons, but his hosting career was over just as fast as it started after he hosted the Oscars with Anne Hathaway. If you don't already know about this legendary night, James Franco and Anne Hathaway hosted the 2011 awards. But it was universally regarded as a train wreck. The main reason for the train wreck was James Franco, because he looked half asleep basically the whole time, and like he didn't want to be there, which forced Anne Hathaway to overcompensate with her delivery. And I think it's safe to say that Franco is the one that made it very hard to watch, while Anne was just trying to keep things afloat. Hathaway admitted she initially tried to turn down the gig, but eventually came around, adding, quote, "Your first instinct is usually the right one." Also, apparently the whole thing was Franco's idea, which just makes everything so much worse. So that's all for the list, guys. Let me know your thoughts below, but before I go, I'm gonna shout out the comments for my part 2 on Chrissy Teigen. Leo Vid said, "I imagine her at home crying and saying that the whole world is out to get her." That is literally exactly what she's doing, even though we're just holding her accountable. Then Oscar said, "I just can't believe John Legend dedicated all of me to this main girl." Yeah, it's definitely, I'm sure making people think twice about him, because like, he's so nice, or he seems so nice. Maybe he's not so nice. Then Justin said, "The body shaming tweets don't surprise me. She's a model. That kind of shallowness is common in that industry." That is very true, so that is kind of like an excuse in a way, but I don't think we can excuse actions or statements. It's just still so crazy to me that she had that much on her Twitter and she didn't delete it, honestly. Alright guys, that's all for the video today. Thank you so much for sticking around if you made it all the way here. If you liked the video and want to see some more, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel below. I've been your host, Mackenzie Smith. Make sure to check us out on social media, and I will catch you all in the next one.